Welcome to LightWave 10 lighting instruments. In this video we're going to be covering all the different types of lighting instruments that ship with LightWave 10, including the point light, the spotlight, distant light, linear light, dome light, area light, spherical light, photometric light, global illumination, geometry lights, and ambient light. Back to inverse square distance. I'm going to turn my light intensity to 1 million, and I'm going to turn my range nominal distance down to 250 millimeters. And now we get that awesome light intensity that's really close to the light source. So that's what we're looking for. Point light sources are really good for this kind of thing. They're good for example, candle flames, or if you have a fireplace, you take a bunch of point lights and you animate them moving up and down in a repeating pattern, and you animate their color from orange to red to yellow and so forth, and you can get a really beautiful looking fire. But don't forget to use natural physical fall off, which is inverse square. Okay. So what's happening here is three things. We have light of higher intensity as our key light source. We have another light of lower intensity as our fill light source. So we have those two things. We have contrast in terms of light intensity and color contrast between cool side and warm side. And additionally, where the two lights are mixing on the front of the object, anywhere both light intensities hit, the amber and the blue are mixing back to a less saturated light. So once again, we can add a projection image. And if I do an F9 render, you can see that projection image is included in the volumetric color. So we can see here that combinations of volumetric light and projection images can create some really lovely and stunning effects. Okay, this one's a little broader and a little more intense at the center. Do you see how there's two patterns here? There's this central area of light, and then there's this outer area of light that presumably comes from here. Let's move this around a little bit and see if we can get a closer look at that. It's quite interesting light, actually. It's an interesting shape. And it really helps the lighting feel photorealistic just because of the pattern of the light. Let's look at another one we have here. So we can see that it's possible to create a piece of geometry and have it actually emit light into the scene. Imagine you had to make a neon sign and you wanted it to illuminate any of the nearby faces. Using geometry lighting is a brilliant way to do that. Now there's another way we can use our global illumination here, and that's by putting a high dynamic range image in the background. So let me just set this intensity back to 0. I'll just close the render view here. And I'm going to go into my backdrop options, and I can put that into textured environment, but there's a tool here that's made especially for HDRs, and that's Image World. So I'll just right click to delete the textured environment. So I'll go ahead, I have a HDR image in here called Grace Probe loaded. I'll load that up. You can actually see what that image looks like in the image editor. Reflections and our diffuse shouldn't both be really high. So I have a high reflection value. And the beauty of having high value in the HDR image reflected in here is that we're actually going to get those full floating point values reflected in here, and the reflections will feel much more realistic.